Good afternoon.
Late afternoon.
All right, so I wanted to open the meeting. This is Honorable Vice President Janita Everhart's uh meeting, but I do want to open it up with the fact that we lost a North Park District seat by Cindy McCutcheon, and I wish her well in all her endeavors. And so I want to start by letting folks know here that there is a procedure and timeline for filling the North Park District Board vacancy. So on Tuesday, 6:30, we do have a board clerk, Sydney Neeson, who obtained background information because this is not the first time we lost a seat on the board. I wasn't here, but I know that there have been other vacancies. And so we sort of used the same process. So the legal notice went out in the Buffalo News, in print and online. All of you have the timeline that was either given to you today and or emailed by our board clerk. And then Wednesday, 7/1. Oh, the day is 7/1, isn't it? I'm sorry. Okay. So the notice has also been placed on our district website. As I should just follow this timeline right here in front of me. All right, so the district notice have been posted. Thursday, 7/2, which is tomorrow. These notices will go out in the North District publications such as the Buffalo Rocket and River Rock Times. I understand it's going out in the Challenger as well at some point.
They weren't posting it until later.
Okay. So for at least we know it's the Buffalo News, the North District publications, and the Buffalo Rocket, River Rock Times. The notice will be open for 2 weeks. On Monday, 7/13, it will close the posting. Letters of intent, time stamped and received by 4 o'clock will be the last post. We will have a special meeting on that day, and this is all, proposed as a timeline, on 7/13 at 6 o'clock here at City Hall. Board members at that time will review applications to select candidates. And by the way, I believe, Cindy, you have received a couple of postings already or resumes of people. So folks are really interested in that vacancy. So board members will share their availability for interviews between the time frame of 7/14 and 7/21. And at that time, Sydney will provide schedule interviews for all the prospective candidates that will be scheduled for interviews. Every application will be considered. And then on Wednesday, 7/15, which is our regular board meeting, I'll provide another update on the selection process, how that's going, et cetera. And our goal is to announce the candidate selection on 7/21. Because at that time, the board will be deliberating and choosing the finalists. And then Sydney, our clerk, will inform the finalists. And then the last thing, 7/22, the candidate name will be released, and that will be a statement to the public on the North District selection. So that's the timeline. Ma'am? All right, so I wanted to provide that. It's clear. The vacancy itself has been, I have a copy of it. It basically says the members of the Buffalo, and this is what the news receives. This is what's in the Buffalo Rocket, et cetera, et cetera. The members of the Buffalo Board of Education are reviewing resumes for the vacant North District seat. Persons interested in applying should send or deliver a letter of notification with attached resume or vita. This information should be sent to Buffalo Board of Education, attention Sydney Neeson, Board Clerk, 801 City Hall, Buffalo, New York. Letter must be timestamped, just what I just said, by 4 o'clock Monday, July 13th. The information may also be emailed by the deadline to Sydney. Qualifications include the following: a citizen of the United States, a qualified voter of Buffalo City School District, a resident of Buffalo for at least 3 years, no felony convictions, a resident of the sub-district, North District. The person has to live in the North District for at least 1 year prior to appointment, and then other qualifications listed in Education Law 2553. The good news, they don't have to petition like we did, knock on doors and get signatures and, all that stuff. So that vacancy will remain effective. I'm sorry, the candidate will remain effective in that seat, whoever it is, for 2.5 years.
I enjoyed that process. I enjoy going door to door and engaging, with people in the community in reference to the petitions. Yeah, they don't have to do that, but I
I
enjoy it.
did too.
Well, they still should have some, I think the purpose of putting it in the Buffalo Rocket and River Rocks is so that the North Buffalo community can kind of come together and decide who their person is, who's already doing the work, and then encourage them to apply.
I agree.
Did we provide a map to these applicants of where the district is? Because I know it's different than the council districts.
That's a good idea. Maybe is that on the website? I
So
wonder?
yes, if you go to the Buffalo Board of Education page, there's actually a spot and it will tell you the map and it will
Mhm.
also give you a list of address. So you can look at your address and it will tell you what district is in there. It's like a 90-page.
Okay.
What part of our website's that on?
It's under Board of Education, so it's at the top. When you click on Board of Education, I'll look at the subheading, but it's on the page.
I remember saying that it's been a while,
Yeah.
but that's good. Cool. Any other questions?
Not right now, but.
Board Member Scott?
Scott.
Mm-hmm. I'll try to answer. I'm not the expert. I'm only 1 of 9, but go ahead.
Is that for me? Do I have the floor?
You have the floor.
Oh, thank you. I just saw the timeline. It looks like it was just emailed to us. Good to see that we have a very clearly defined process to follow, an inclusive process. 2 questions or 1 question and just 1 point. Well, I'll start with the point. I am unavailable and out of town July 15th to July 20th. The question I had was in regards to the applicants that submit their applications or resumes, et cetera. How will board members have access to those? When will we have access? How will we have access to those?
According to the timeline, it looks like 7/13 board members review applications and select candidates. Are you around 7/13? You're here, right? You said July 15th, you're not here.
Correct. July 15th to July 20th. I'm here that day. But
Okay,
will
so
there be, is that the first time we will get everything? And I assume as a hard copy, not digital?
Yes. The interviews close at 4:00 PM, and then by 6 PM, we'll go into executive session. And then we will all go over the applications
We'll have
and choose the
copies.
people that we want to interview as a group.
When will be the executive session on Wednesday?
That Wednesday at 6 PM.
Will any board members have access to those documents prior to July 13th in the executive session?
No.
Only the board clerk.
Okay. Thank you. And Sydney, if you're there, thank you for all your work on this. Much appreciated.
I have a question. Okay. Well, actually, I'd like to make a request. I don't know if I have to make a motion, but, oh, okay. I'm wondering if we can blind the names, if that may be the best while reviewing these applications and, picking out whom we'd like to interview to fill the vacancy. I'm hoping to try to be fair to all the applicants and try to work collaboratively. But that way we can focus on the qualifications in the resume instead of, like maybe lobbying for a specific person.
Something like The Voice, that show The Voice. You hear the voice, inner, and then you don't know until you turn around. Is that?
And
what you mean?
avoid, some other things that have come up, like we're lobbying for like one person. So that way you see the resume. It's all the information is there, so we don't.
Why be blind? I
I
don't
don't
like
want to
that.
hide anything.
Yeah, I don't want to hide. I don't want to be blind in a
I'd like to be
situation,
transparent.
choosing.
Maybe we can vote or something. I mean, like,
Okay.
I think, it's a question and every person has an opportunity to agree or disagree. Like I said, like The Voice, to your point, I work in child welfare. And so there's a disproportionate number of kids of color who are in foster care and adoption, right? In that system. And so what happens is we do not identify the name of the individual. And we just basically provide the information of why that person is in the system. And so we blindly, assess the situation, et cetera, because it could, um, show bias if you see names, for example.
yeah, maybe blind isn't a good word, like not be encumbered by a name.
Anybody else on that?
Well, I mean, we didn't do that process when it came to doing the clerk. Why should we take on this process now?
Yes, I also was interviewed for a vacant position when I was younger, and that didn't happen either. I don't like that idea at all. What also, will these interviews be in public for the public to see?
No, not the interviews. We do that.
Executive session.
I can't hear you. What did you say?
We would go into executive session.
Okay.
As we do with the, superintendent, the clerk, we would do the same process.
While we bring up the board clerk, I'd like to avoid some of that, like, cause I felt like, okay, this is my person. I want this person. And I think it's just more about who would be best qualified to fill the position.
I personally
my-
didn't have a preference. I would.
Right.
And I didn't have a preference either. And North Buffalo, I'm not sure who's doing the work out there, but I hope that North Buffalo community members do send their person who they want supporting them.
What will make you insinuate that notion?
What?
That someone would be biased or they want to lobby for their person?
I think it's just a fairness.
But it's still one vote per
Yeah,
person.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Are you, if we don't come up with a person, can you explain the process according to our bylaws where the mayor comes in?
I think if we get people who will have applied, we're gonna come up with a person. I just don't see why we would not.
Mhm.
It's a North Buffalo resident and they're interested in the position. Certainly, they would qualify based on their interests, based on their qualifications. I certainly wouldn't apply for a position I don't think I could do, but I'm just saying, we would never want that to happen. It has not happened in the history of replacing a vacancy. The board does have done it and met those guidelines.
Yeah, some big shoes to fill. So, I mean, I don't want it to make it seem like we're just going in blind, just looking at qualifications and we don't know who, the person are. I mean, we should just be able to come up with the right decision based upon the interview process and that be that.
And alternatively, we can just interview everybody who applies.
Yeah, 20 apply.
Yeah.
Interview them all.
You would interview them all.
Anybody else on that? You have the timeline?
Board Member Rodriguez.
Oh, Talia?
Hi, everybody. My response was just to VP Zulich's point, if we wanted to bring that process question to a vote. And then I've asked this in past meetings, Board President, is there someone monitoring the chat? Because I tried to drop the link for the map. I thought they were referencing when Board Member Bowen asked the question. But I wasn't sure if anyone on our side can see what I'm sharing.
Thank you.
Nope, I can't see, Board Member Rodriguez. We can't see.
10-4. All right, thank you.
And to your point, Board Member Bone, it is on, I just found out where it is, so I can give you the exact information. So under the Board of Education link, there's a little subsection that says Erie County Board of Elections Political Calendar / Packet. And under there, there's links to both the map as well as the street list by board sub-district. So it'll give you a list of all the streets in that district.
Okay, can you do that one more time so
Yes.
that if somebody's listening, they
Yes.
know exactly where to find the map?
Yes.
Please, ma'am.
So under the Board of Education on the district website, which is all the way to the left, when you're looking at your actual, like an actual PC or MacBook, all the way to the left, it says Board of Education. If you click on that, you're going to click on the side, there will be a subsection that says Erie County Board of Elections Political Calendar. When you click on that, it opens up to a bunch of files. The second file down is the approved Buffalo Schools map. And then the next file underneath that says the 2025 street list by board sub-district.
And Sydney, who is monitoring or manning the
The chat inside.
the teams? Because I'm trying to get in now and I can't get in. Or nobody's let me in yet.
For a team,
Mhm.
log into the Zoom.
Oh,
Teams don't work.
okay.
Somehow we need to get rid of that.
Thank you, Admir.
Cause that's,
Yes,
we're on Zoom, right? Zoom.
yes.
Yeah, that Teams, it seemed like it's stuck there or something.
Yeah. Well, I got an invite for Teams and Zoom. So let me find the Zoom. Okay, do we want to move forward with a vote on VP Zulich idea to?
Shield name. Trying to careful with my words.
Do we vote in work session? Mm-mm. We don't vote in work session.
So bring it up the 15th or, oh no, I guess it's too late.
Maybe too late.
I have to, George, I don't know. I want to clarify if they're an executive session or not. The interviews.
There has been, public concern. I've had a couple people ask about transparency and holding them in public.
The interviews, I never heard of.
Okay.
Not in the
Is that
history of
legal?
this.
I guess we can look into it. I don't know as far
Doc-
as like a
Dr.
public
Brown,
office, then
I-
yeah.
Dr. Brown, I don't know if it was changed, but I think in 2012, when I went for the vacancy for the at-large position, I think the interviews was held in public and the decision was held in executive session, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. Well,
Because when I was interviewed, it was like people in the audience. Like my uncle came with me; he was able to see me be interviewed by the board. So at that time, those interviews was conducted in the public. But
2012, what that was,
14 years ago.
10 years.
yeah, that was a long time ago, but it has happened before, so I don't know.
You'll get clarity, but so.
Yeah, I know with the superintendent search, we had a decision between having a closed interview and an open interview. And even the open interview was within the executive session, but the closed interview just meant that we couldn't release their names to the public.
Get clarity on that, but. yeah.
I guess for me, it's just like the weighing the 2.5 years for what is usually an elected position. And we have the responsibility and the, burden, but to appoint somebody.
I believe the council has open meetings, open interviews, sorry, when there's a vacancy.
It being a public seat.
You just gotta find out if that's policy.
If it's, yeah.
Can't go against policy, because then if we do something that's against policy,
Well, we certainly can't vote here, but I'm glad that we, are asking questions and we'll get some clarity. Sydney's good at, getting that information. Well, if no other questions, we can move on.
Board Member Rodriguez.
Okay.
Well, I was just gonna reiterate what board member Hawkins said. I think for me, when I think of a board member, I think of somebody who from the district side is seen like as an employee because we're on payroll. So just a word of caution that whatever the process is, we don't expose ourselves to liability by doing it differently than best practice or as board member referenced practice in the past.
Okay, thank you for that.
So on Wednesday, the 22nd, is that the same day they get sworn in? Or no, that would be a separate day.
That's a good question. Probably, well,
or it releases the statement to the public on the selection. So obviously that day, that person will be selected. If
they would be sworn.
Well,
in.
I always say there's a long line in between getting elected or selected and getting sworn in. Like, so
Right.
to board member Bowen's point, I think one of the questions I would have too is if we should be there or if it's going to be like a physical thing.
Our next board meeting, yeah, like what?
Yeah. Or if the mayor is able to select the next board member if they are not sworn in by that date. So we need to look into that. So if the person we pick is not sworn in by the 24th is the deadline for when the mayor would be able to select the person. If that person is not sworn in by that date, then of course we want to have the swearing in the 22nd.
Sworn in or?
We should probably figure that out.
that's the rule,
I don't know. I'm just asking, so we have two different things. We will select a person by the 22nd or by the last interview. And then we have the announcement. Now, should the announcement also be coupled with the swearing in? Because then that person officially has been picked by the board, which means the mayor has no need to step in.
well, officially, if he's elected by the board, then he's selected by the board. The swearing in comes in after that, right?
Just saying.
No, I'm
Sometimes
trying to see
the
what-
policy,
what's the
sometimes the policy, yeah.
Because we don't want nothing to happen under technicalities here. So we want to be precise and we want to be efficient on, whoever's selected for the position. But we want to make sure that,
Mr.
it's
Leary,
somebody-
Mr. Leary got his hand up.
Mr. Scott?
Yes, just for clarity, we would be holding a special meeting to officially appoint the replacement, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
All right, these are good questions.
Well, what if a board member isn't present? Is that a
You got a forum.
Yeah.
That what you mean?
Sure, because I wanted to say that, I wasn't involved or I wasn't present when this election was made. And, I want to be clear on that, because I want to make sure that everybody have ample opportunity. The timeline is the timeline. If you have something other of importance that you cannot make this, I don't want this to count against the whole on the decision-making process.
So usually a forum and, it's not uncommon that people have, conflicts. We've had board members in the past who were out of town. They wanted to be here, or couldn't be here, couldn't vote out of town, but it happens. So it's all about the majority. And thank you for that. Any other questions so we can move on?
You have to be in person, correct, for this?
Vote. Yes.
Thank you.
You have to be in person to vote. So if you're not in person to vote, then what happens?
You don't vote.
You just don't vote. You can definitely, once you see the resumes, give your opinion.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and to be fair, I mean, we usually don't have like work sessions in the summer and
Right.
We
it's a
don't.
little
Yeah,
unusual.
it is.
Well, under this situation, we have to, right? So we can't look at it because we're normally not accustomed to having work sessions. This is an important matter, and it's very community oriented. So we have to do what we've been elected to do.
And last year, remember, we were in the throes of selecting our superintendent. So we
Yeah.
sacrificed that year.
Sacrificed our summer last year too.
Yeah, so,
Do you want me to read the policy?
What?
Filling
for what?
filling the vacancy. The vacancy will be filled by a majority vote of the remaining members of the board within 30 days of the date of the vacancy. If the remaining members of the board fail to fill the vacancy within 30 days, then the mayor of the city of Buffalo will, within 30 days thereafter, fill the vacancy, subject to confirmation of the appointment by the common council of the city of Buffalo. So what does fill the vacancy mean?
Right.
That's the question.
Filled means that when we select it, then that position has been filled. The swearing in does not say filled. Swearing in and filled are totally two different things.
We are filling a 9th seat. Right now, we have 8 seats.
So once we select it, then that person is filled in,
The
right?
9th.
The
yeah,
ninth
9th
seat will be filled once we make that selection on the 22nd. The swearing in has nothing to do with it.
We need to find out though, to
Yeah.
make sure that they're official once we.
And to be fair, let's just swear them in before the 24th. So that way we,
It's just done. We don't have to
done and
worry
over.
about it.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Swear them in that day they select that. Get over with.
Eric's point. Thank you, Eric. I didn't think about that.
Thank you, EB.
All right, anything else? About filling the 9th seat? Okay, if not, I yield.
So welcome to the executive session. The executive affairs, you are not used to seeing us in the summer for work sessions, but during our board retreat, we decided that it was such a good experience that we would come together to do more board training. And from our last regular board meeting, there was a lot of media about how the board conducts itself. And so we have Rodney Dorton from the Council of Great City Schools, and I see Sydney Ellsberg here too. And so what they'll be talking about today is board norms and protocols and effective governance in effective meetings. And so you see us kind of be all over the place with each other last board meeting, and now you get to see us heal together. So I think that's an amazing thing. Welcome, Rodney and Sydney. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much, and glad to be with you again today. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So first, I'd just like to thank Sydney. She has really stepped in and has been a great support to the coaching team already. I want to acknowledge her both in terms of just reaching out and engaging. I had some technical issues today with my email and didn't even realize I was having them. And so I was calling VP Everhart to say, hey, I might need some assistance with something. And lo and behold, in my alternative email box, Sydney had already sent me the information that I needed. So I just wanted to thank her and acknowledge her for all of her support as part of this effort. So today, we're not here to um, we're not here to direct you or to give you solutions, so to speak. But what we are here today is to continue some of the conversation that we had with you back in May, and even some of the conversations that we've had throughout throughout the last several months as this team has come together. So what I plan to do today is first thing I just want to kind of start off. I want to share. I'm going to attempt to share a video link with you for something to you to watch and to have some discussion about what you observe. After that, uh, opportunity to review that and to have some team discussion around that. Just want to do a check in to see how everybody is showing up today. And then after that, we'll proceed to go in and just talk about, what are norms, what are protocols, how can they be helpful to you? I don't think that these are things that are necessarily new to you, but we think it's important to revisit them. And we'll talk a little bit more into that as I get into the slide presentation. Also want to say I did ask if some of you all are, have your devices in front of you and you're able to join the Zoom, at least for me and sometimes for others, uh, it makes it a little easier in the hybrid format to see you versus right now I can see everybody who's on Zoom pretty clearly, and then I can see those of you that are in the room not as clearly, although I can see you. So if that presents itself as an opportunity, feel free to do that. Otherwise, we will proceed on. So let me start by seeing if I can
Rodney?
share. Yes.
So the camera is actually faced that way. So would it be okay if we just turn and spoke toward the camera when we're speaking? If we're in the room, can you see us then?
Yeah, I mean, what I can see is those of you that are sitting around the table. But like if you all look on the Zoom screen right now, you can see in the Brady Bunch squares all of us pretty clearly. What we
Got it.
see, what we see of you is those of you sitting around the table, and so it's just not the same interaction. But it's fine. We're gonna move on. But just something to consider as you all move forward with your hybrid meetings. But I'm going to go ahead and see if I can share my screen. Okay. I will enlarge this and just see if this will play for you. Let's see. Oh, wrong one.
So I just, oh man, somebody that we had, we received 19 applicants after Palladino in 2017 and all were interviewed in public. We just gotta come.
Oh, give me 1 second. See if I can turn that off.
Where's the policy that came between then
Well,
and now? Can't find
Were,
out
were
that.
you all were you all able to see that video at all?
No.
Not nothing moved. All right, let me
No.
let me try it one more time.
Can Admir hear us? Admir?
Is he able to share?
Can you close the chat box too?
I'm going to bring it up again and see if it'll work. Otherwise, I did send a link, or I can put a link to it in the chat, and maybe IT can play it. Let's see.
Yeah, he said he can play it.
Okay, does he have the link?
Did you just send it?
Well, I had emailed it just in case to Sydney, but let me grab it and I'll put it in the in the chat box. Let's see.
So here it is.
Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
Okay, were you able to see it that time?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I just wanted to ask, as you watched that video, what did you observe? What came to mind? What did you see as you watched the video? Who would like to share first?
I thought about Shakari Richardson.
Okay.
Because I was so confused as to why they always had her start so far back behind people. And I'm like, well, that's not a fair race because she would, of course, catch up, but she's so far behind. So I'm wondering what are you thinking?
Well, so for those that may not be familiar with Ms. Richardson, you want to give some background on who you're referencing?
Yeah, she is an Olympic runner, and I believe she is a I don't know what they're called, sprinter. And so she is a woman who has has overcome many adversities. And now she is I think the fastest woman in the world.
Yeah,
I
she,
believe
she
so.
definitely has won some medals and some races and has set some records. Who else would like to share? What did you observe when you were watching that video?
Well, I observed she got stronger as the race went on. The rest of them got tired. She got stronger
Okay.
to the finish.
So the young lady who was finishing the race started off behind, but she got stronger as the race went on and ultimately crossed the finish line first. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Any other observations that anyone else has?
It seems like she kind of saved her energy for in the beginning, and then where the other race runners used most of their energy in the beginning, and then kind of like what board member Hawkins said, and then at the end she kind of used all those reserves to kind of finish before everybody.
It's not how you start, it's how you finish.
Now, how you start is how you finish. What could you tell at the time that the young lady who won the race, when the baton was passed to her, where was she in the race with others? Where was their team in the race?
The back.
Right.
They weren't
Right.
in place. They wasn't placing, that's for sure.
Yeah, so they were behind, and then ultimately over there 2 laps, it was a relay race, and I think we caught the last 2 legs of the relay, but they were way behind. And when the previous runner handed the baton to the last runner, they definitely were behind. And then over 2 laps, she caught up and eventually crossed the line first. What do you think? As the anchor leg is what I
Right.
understand.
So
We call the person who
anchor.
finishes. Yep.
Right.
As the anchor leg received the baton and saw how far the team was behind, what do you think was going through her mind?
She had to catch up. She's the
She had to
anchor.
catch up. She's
She's
the
the
anchor.
anchor. She's the anchor for a reason. She's basically, in refer to baseball, more like the closer. So that's your best athlete on the track is your anchor, because the anchor covers the ground that the first three couldn't make up.
Okay. Any other ideas or hypotheses of what you think maybe was going through the mind or was not going through the mind of the young lady who was running the anchor leg?
She had to do what she had to do to win. And the only way she was going to win her place was to, get ahead.
Where do you think possibly her focus, what do you think her focus was on?
Finish line.
Finish line? Do you think she was worried about what the audience was doing?
Not at all.
You think she was thinking about the hundreds of relay races that may have been run prior to her?
Not at all.
Uh, any other thoughts on what you felt that she needed to do in that moment in order to win the race?
You got to lock in. That's for one, and complete the assignment. Tunnel
Anyone
vision.
else had tunnel vision? Or can you speak a little bit more about tunnel vision? What does that mean?
Tunnel vision, laser focus, looking straight ahead. I'm not looking on the side of me. I'm not looking what's behind me. I am looking forward.
I think Rodney wants us to say focused on the goal.
I'm not trying to get you to say that, but if that's an observation, then that's an observation that you could have.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm really just trying to try to hear from as many in the room and online as possible about about what your observations are. Anyone else have any thoughts or anything that you like to share?
No, our guy Eric, he's being modest. He runs now, so I know he
Yeah,
knows the
yes,
answer to that.
yeah.
He's
I
the
do
expert at this
recall.
table.
I do recall Board Member Bowen speaking to that back in May. So, Board Member Bowen, what are your thoughts about that as you watch that, or as you think about as a runner, whether it's a sprinter or marathon or so forth? What are your thoughts?
Uh, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
And so, what does that mean as a runner? What does that mean?
You achieve your goals. I'm tying this into the school board too. You achieve your goals more over time than right away. You can't get a goal right overnight. It takes training, it takes practice, and you got to keep working towards it to do your best.
Yeah, appreciate that. Anyone have any other thoughts? So I shared that with you. I don't know exactly why that came across my Instagram timeline a couple of days ago, but when I saw it, I had some of the same thoughts that you all had, and I was kind of relaying it to some of the conversation that we can have today around norms and protocols, as well as some of the past conversations as I've observed some of your meetings. So one of the things that popped into my mind was in the context of what we may talk about today is I thought of the baton as the students. So you all represent, the board represents the vision and values of the community. You all have definite impact on students and what the focus could be. And so I kind of thought of the baton as the students and the board and the governance team, but definitely the board as the individuals that are running the race. And as new members come on, you all were just discussing filling a vacancy that you have. As new members come on, what are ways that a baton can be passed? And even if in the process of running the race and being competitive with others, as you all are working to ensure success for Buffalo students, there are other districts in New York around the country who also working real hard to try to prepare things for those students. So even as you go through transition, even as it may seem that um, it may seem like the race cannot be won, that it is possible, even in the midst of the stress of being behind. We didn't see the whole race. We don't know if the baton got dropped earlier and somebody picked it up. We don't know if, as Board Member Hawkins was mentioning earlier, whether or not the other legs of the race just happened to be behind. But part of what resonated for me was that individual that from the third leg to the anchor leg, one, the person that was handing the baton to the anchor leg young lady, she had to make sure that the baton was passed and that the exchange happened well. Then the young lady who received the baton, as you all shared, required her to have a great deal of focus. She could have chosen to quit. She could have said, "We are too far behind and we're not going to win this race, and I'm just going to stop." But she didn't choose that. She made agreements with her teammates, I'm sure, that they were going to finish the race and do the best that they could, no matter what, and they were going to cross the finish line in the to the greatest extent possible in the time that they had available. Um, if you watch the video again, I didn't see her looking at the crowd. I didn't see her getting distracted. She was focused on her goal and she was determined to cross that finish line and win that race on behalf of the team. And so I thought it was kind of appropriate for the discussions that we've had and will continue to have about um, how does the board maintain its focus? How does the board have clarity on its goal? How does the board win for students? And even in the midst of thousands of people that may be watching or two people that may be watching, no matter what may have happened in previous races, right now the baton is in your hands. And so you have the opportunity to work together as a team so that the baton, the students don't get dropped, and that you continue to operate and focus in such a way that you can achieve the victory that you have determined what it is that you want to achieve for students. So that was kind of what I observed, and I appreciate for those of you that have shared. You have that link, and it's worth watching. We often say replay the videotape. It's worth watching that video over and over again. And I suspect if you do it like I have since I received it, you see things a little bit more different, or you see additional things each time there's an opportunity to watch that video and to watch that race. So before I transition, any additional thoughts or points of inspiration or desperation, perhaps that you may have from watching that video and watching that team work together to ultimately win the race? Any other observations or thoughts? Okay, hearing none. How are you? How are you today? How are you showing up today? I see Board Member Wright is showing up well today. He's got a reminder of his why right there in front of him on the screen. In one word, how are you all showing up for the meeting today, or how have you shown up today? Who would like to share? How are you showing up today?
Well, it's a gorgeous day out. It's a little hot, real hot for Buffalo weather. So I'm appreciative of that. School is officially out, so I'm excited, about school being out. And going through all the graduations last week, getting that experience in. So, that's my main thing. The focus is the students. So, I'm just, ecstatic to have those opportunities to, see things through and be at the table with my colleagues.
Anyone else like to share?
I guess I could say I showed up with the renewed mindset here, ready to work with my colleagues to try to move things and issues forward, try to fill the vacancy and help support the superintendent and moving our district forward today. It's such a beautiful day. It's been a few beautiful days here in Buffalo. So I'm just positive and have a good mindset for what we can accomplish here together as a team.
Appreciate that. Anyone else want to share how you have how you're showing up today? Dr. Mabinga, how are you showing up today?
Beautiful day outside. So I had a great day and busy and interviewing for some principalship positions today. And we had some great candidates and it's been a really good day.
How about you, Dr. Kathy? How are you showing up today?
Oh, I'm showing up. Fantastic. The work must continue. Despite, distractions, I don't let, many distractions distract me from doing the work. So I'm, similar to some of my board colleagues, what they said, supporting the superintendent and moving the needle for this district. That's most important to me.
Okay, all right. Anyone else before we transition? Anyone else? Okay,
Beautiful day
well,
in Buffalo.
beautiful day in Buffalo. Okay,
We
you all.
only get about 2 months of this type of weather.
90 degrees, Rodney and Cindy in Buffalo, New York.
It's gonna snow in
And,
August.
and if I'm not mistaken, you all had some graduations last week. Is that the case?
Yeah, it was beautiful.
So did any of you get the opportunity to attend graduations?
Oh, yes.
So how was that?
3 days, Ronnie. 3 graduations a day last week. So it was good to see. It was good to see how well represented the board were at these graduations. I mean, all of us, you know, basically share that interest in, showing up for the students. It's probably a few that I couldn't make it, but I see VP Zulich there, on stage, representing, passing out, diplomas, shaking hands, stuff like that. So just to see that collective effort as a board, for our students was just awesome last week.
Well, appreciate that. So I'm going to build upon how you all have shown up and what you've expressed thus far. Part of what I want to share with you, I think I mentioned to you all back in May that several times over the years I've had the opportunity to do some presentations at national conferences or regional, or even just meeting with some school boards to talk about norms and protocols. And one of the things that you all are aware, I sent a survey out, and I want to thank the 6 of you that completed the survey. I want to thank you for doing that. And I'll come back in a little bit later and talk about some of the observations of some of the responses that came from that survey. So that survey gives a little sense of the reality of where the board may be in response to some of the questions that I asked. But before I do that, I want to kind of go back and see if I am sharing well.
We can see your screen.
Okay, all right. So one of the things, can you see the slide with the cup of coffee?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. So who recalls back in May, we had some conversations at the retreat in May about transformation and cups of coffee. Anyone have any recollection of that discussion? And if so, would you be willing to share what you recall, what this means to you as you see this image on the screen? Who would like to share first? Don't be shy.
It's a new
Come
cup
on.
it's a new cup that some people don't like to drink out of, Ronnie.
Well, we're not talking about what's true for somebody else. What's true for you? What does
For
it
me,
mean to you? Hmm.
that's what it means. One voice, one vision, and one mission. And we all should be able to drink from that cup and be full. But yeah, I'm with choosing to pour. I'm with choosing to pour a new cup. We have a lot of new board members with great mindsets and creativity and innovative ways on how to move this district forward. And it really shouldn't be no problem for all 9 of those creative minds to reach that common goal for our students. So let's create that cup. All right. Let's get the right Keurig. All right. We got to get the right Keurig first, right? And let's create that perfect cup of coffee for our students.
Appreciate you sharing that. Anyone else have any thoughts about choosing to pour a new cup of transformation for Buffalo students?
Well, I think it's good being that we have to create new goals or um, the goals were created in 2024. And I know that when me and VP Zulich came on, we kind of didn't really identify with the goals. And I know that the new board members came on and they didn't really identify with the goals. And so this kind of reminds me of that. And hopefully we can get that done this summer.
And to that point is, I don't, it'll be up to you all to make the determination whether or not you have new goals. But what you do know is that the board um, tasked Dr. Mabenga with taking a look at the previous goals or the existing goals, because right now those are the goals that you have, because those are the goals that the board adopted. And Dr. Mabenga had an opportunity to take a look at the interim goals that were interim goals and interim guardrails that were put in place by the previous administration. And so he did have an opportunity earlier in the year uh, to look at those interim goals and also, as a result of that, have some recommendations for the board to potentially consider around the goals. But one of the reasons why we thought it was important uh, to kind of reset and take time to give some focus to just the way the board interacts with each other, because as we talk about a new cup of transformation, if the board is stuck in the old cup and Dr. Babinga is bringing a new perspective and a new view of the interims that may shed light on the board goals, uh, you truly want to set an environment for this new cup of transformation. And so part of this discussion and part of what I appreciate you all for agreeing to do in terms of continuing to have these conversations around just the effectiveness of boards and the board role is to allow for this environment to take place. So as you consider uh, Dr. Mabinga's take on the interims and to whatever extent they may have considerations for the board's overall goals, that you truly have created this cup and that would allow for that to be received and for the board to be able to be focused, just like the young lady in the video was focused. And again, so just again using that analogy of the baton being passed, but the goal of winning for students is still clear. But I appreciate you sharing that. Any other thoughts? Yes.
Yeah, so I just want to remind us that those goals were goals that the board went out to the community, their vision for what kids can do and be able to do when they graduate. So we took an extensive opportunity, time frame, and worked with over 100 stakeholders across this city to include them all. And what the board did under the guidance of the Council of the Great City Schools did an aggregate consolidation and prioritize what was the most important. So those goals didn't come out the blue. I just want to remind people that these goals were adopted and designed by our stakeholders, including students, teachers, faith-based people, business and industry, educators, staff, cabinet, etc. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much for sharing that. And I think that again, one of the things that we do have on our timeline, and also as part of this process, is to truly um, revisit that process and revisit that goals, not in the sense of whether or not you may re-implement them, but in the context of what uh, President Kathy was just saying, is making sure that as a team, you all are, again, I'm gonna keep, I'm glad that we showed the video, because the more I think I'm going to use it, is that, um, you could have a new members that joined the team, whether it's a new superintendent, new board members. You're looking at having a new board member that's going to join you in the next 30 to 45 days. Um, how does the board have a conversation? So let's say that as this new board member, the ninth board member is selected, then how does the board uh, onboard that new board member so that there's common understanding of these are our goals, these are our guardrails, this is how we arrived at them, this is what they mean, so that you can move together collectively as a team towards uh, you know monitoring the progress and supporting the superintendent and superintendent strategies and recommendations to get there. And so one of the reasons why we're kind of having this discussion today, and something that showed up in the survey results, is um, you have now you have 8 members, but it's not really clear that all 8 members are on the same page in terms of how you do your business and how you do your work. And so this is just an opportunity for the board to uh, re-educate itself, to share things with the board, so that again, as you all are moving forward, you can be focused on what this new team can continue to do, having received the baton from past teams, but be clear about what's the goal. We want to reach the finish line, and we want to run the relay race, and we want to cross the finish line, whether it's in 2 minutes, 8 minutes, or whatever the goal is. But the research will show, and I know I always also ask you all to read about the effective characteristics of eight characteristics of effective school boards. This constant education, this constant retraining, this constant of sharing information allows for boards to be much more efficient and effective. And so part of this discussion today is just to help with setting the environment for you all to go much deeper with common language and common agreement as you move forward towards your goals. So I'm going to pick up pace. I want to be mindful of time, but I just wanted to reshare and kind of refocus your thoughts on, you all are a team. Each time you have a new member of the board, you have a new team. Each time you have a new superintendent, you have a new team, and it's always good whenever you have a new member to just kind of reintroduce and reorient and prepare individuals for what is it that how does the board do its work. And as you have new members of the team, are there things that you want to continue to do, or things that you may want to adjust doing as you bring that new energy and new insight and new representation to the team? Uh, so I pulled this quote from a book, Peak Performing Governance Teams. Uh, this is something that when we talk about, norms and protocols and how the board does its business, I just thought this was a interesting quote. Nothing can sap board members' energy more than participating in unfocused, rambling, disorganized, or contentious meetings. And so as we talk about the way the board does business, um, where there's a lack of focus, where there's a lack of clarity, where there's a lack of common language and understanding, uh, your energy can get sapped. When we've talked about before that excellence in the classroom begins with excellence in the boardroom. Likewise, it can be the case that if the boardroom is unfocused or rambling or disorganized or contentious, then that same type of behavior or action can parallel down to the classroom. Um, I'll come back to that if anybody wants to discuss that more, but I just wanted to uh, share that quote and thought with you. Um, we've discussed before about using time. We've talked about, and you all talk about in when you start your meetings and you share about your intent of how the board uses its time. At the core of this work and at the core of the framework and the core of our coaching is to support the alignment. So there's alignment between the saying and doing, and the more likely it is that the school board's actions will create context or district culture for improvement in student outcomes. And so you all start off your meetings with saying that student outcomes don't change until adult behaviors change. The rest of that is starting with me, but how the board uses its time. Time is currency, and so I just want to kind of reset those concepts before you again as we talk about uh, how the board does its work and how the board uses its time. I'm sorry, was there a question? Okay. As I mentioned, this is part of a presentation that I've shared before. Um, I've shared with you all some board meeting analysis of some of your meetings. This is not your meeting on the left at all. This is some other board, someplace in the country. But what I just wanted to make a connection between on the left column on the board meeting analysis, this was a assessment of a board meeting spent 110 minutes, almost 2 hours in a public session. The amount of time they spent on being student outcome focused was 0, and you can see where the board spent its time. But oftentimes, in our SOG framework also speaks to this when we talk about agenda diets and policy diets and so forth. Oftentimes, um, the for a lack of clarity around how the board agenda may get developed or how information is shared with the board or communication amongst the board members and so forth, that when those norms and protocols and agreements are in place, it can make the board much more efficient and much more effective in how it does its work. And are there, and those norms and protocols are there to then to be able to support the board to be focused in its race and also to have effective and efficient meetings that would lead to the board being more focused on uh, student outcomes versus being focused on adult inputs and outputs and adult outcomes. So before I go into just kind of talking about the purpose of norms and protocols, any questions that anyone has thus far, or any comments that anyone would like to share thus far? Okay. Oh. And Coach Cindy, of course, you are free to chime in at anytime that you wish as well. So at the core of it, uh, board norms are really upon what are the board's agreed upon values or belief systems. This is what's in this box here is just one sampling from a board that came up with some values and beliefs. And this is not we talking about values and beliefs here. We're talking about that you share as a board and as a team. So this example, we will hear each opinion, but ultimately act as one. We will speak candidly and courteously to each other and listen to consenting or different viewpoints with an open mind. We will help each other to depersonalize disagreements. Once we reach a decision or a compromise as a board, we will support the will of the board in word and deed. So this is an example of a norm, agreed upon values or beliefs that that this board chose to have. And so part of what I would ask that you all consider as we move forward, kind of wipe the slate clean, and we will work with you all to kind of allow for each of you to offer your inputs into what might be a set of norms that this governance team may set for itself moving forward. Uh, any questions at all about the board's agreed upon values or how this particular example expresses that? You all are, yes, board member Rodriguez.
I just have like a process question. So I feel like implicit in all of the conversation about building a shared culture is that board members will maintain their oath of confidentiality and otherwise not seek to tear other board members down either in executive session or outside. And I'm just very new to the board, so I just wanted to make sure that it was clear to everyone that that's the minimum expectation in order to build a positive culture.
Thank you very much for sharing that. And actually, eventually, what we'll get to is have a blank template that you all can use as a basis. But what you shared is an example of agreed upon belief system that confidentiality will be observed, that board members will, almost in this one that's on the screen, will depersonalize. It's not personal. It's about the business and the work of the board. But what you shared, I appreciate you sharing that because that is an example of an additional norm that you all may want to consider. And as you said, is clearly one that is typically recommended as you said, as a base starting point in terms of how boards and teams, governance team, the board and superintendent together will function and operate. Um, so then there are protocols. So norms speak to your values and beliefs. The protocols speak to, well, how do you go about doing it? How do you go about executing it? So again, these are just snapshots. We began earlier in the year talking about standard operating procedures. We'll eventually come back to that. But again, I just wanted to kind of take the time and just reintroduce what we're saying when we say in terms of norms, the beliefs and values that you have for a team, and then the how, which may be standard operating procedures or protocols in terms of how you go about doing that work. So as part of the survey, you can see some connectivity between some of the questions that were asked on the survey and examples that you see here. How does the board develop its agenda? How do items get placed on the agenda? What's the process for obtaining information before about board meeting agenda items before the meeting? So not only is an opportunity to express it here, but if you take the opportunity and to review our student outcome focused governance framework, you will also see some recommendations, that research-based recommendations that we put forward in that framework to support your drive to be student outcome focused and be able to support the board in its work towards achieving the goals and the results that you all have set for students. Any thoughts, comments, questions about protocols being the how versus the norms being the values and the beliefs?
Oh, just Rodney, are you able to email this to us, your slides to us? I think board member Scott left right after the announcement of the timeline.
Yes,
So-
I saw. Yeah, what I'll do is I'll definitely share this with you and may also share some additional information as well. Any other questions or comments on protocols?
So
In
according to this,
mhm.
so according to this, the board chair, which would be VP Everhard and the superintendent, set the agenda.
No, in this particular instance, it's the board chair. So your board chair, your board president, is Dr. Evans Brown. So, but I don't want you to focus on this is what was true for a board and a team. The key here is that the agenda is, as we've talked about before, is the board's agenda. The meeting that you all have is a meeting of the board with the superintendent. It's not the superintendent's meeting. It's not the staff's meeting. It's not the stakeholders meeting. This is the board's meeting. And so, as I mentioned, in one of the things that I observed in the survey, in the responses to um, do you know how the board's agenda is developed, some did and some didn't. Some weren't sure. And so, whatever it is that you all may currently do, you all can discuss that. And then you can also have a determination around uh, whether or not you want to keep, delete, or modify that process. But as we have these conversations, because of where you all are right now, as we go through all of this, I want you to think about not only what's working for you or how you want things to work for you as a team, but also for future boards. Because, like I say, in 45 days, technically, you all will have a future board. And in the context of running the race, you want to be able to pass that baton of effectiveness and efficiency so that each time you have new board members come on, you don't find yourself um, trying to maximize your time on dealing with these adult concerns and being able to focus on student outcomes and student achievement. Yes, board member Wright.
So I have a quick question, and I don't know how. Okay, I'm gonna try to answer it to the best of my ability. So how you say, and you said this in our retreat, that it's really the board's responsibility to create the agenda, especially for our meetings. So from what I see, it seems to me like the superintendent or his cabinet controls our agenda for our meetings, or make the agenda for our meetings. It, if that is incorrect, is it up to us what we put on our agenda? If you
So,
understand
so
what I'm
just
saying.
yeah, so just
Okay.
for clarity, I was saying that ultimately the meetings are the meetings of the board with the superintendent in the public. So the agenda is the board's agenda, but clearly the superintendent is the expert and has knowledge of what's happening in the district. And so it is a communication between the board leadership, whatever method that you all determine, and the superintendent. But ultimately, the agenda belongs to the board. Now, I think in some of your existing policies and practices, I think that it has been, and I'll ask others to speak to it. I think perhaps some of the past practices and perhaps what you currently have in your bylaws, um, if I recall correctly, did kind of have the board chose whatever reason, chose to give to the superintendent the responsibility for uh, developing the board's agenda. What I'm just sharing with you is that the best practice and the rule of thumb is that these are meetings of the board, and that the board needs to determine um, what its agenda is going to be, if that's the will of this team. If you all are, make the decision that you're going to continue things as they are, ultimately you could make that decision. But at least my recommendation and my coaching would be that the board, in its role of setting the agenda, would take the responsibility of setting the agenda with the superintendent versus delegating that board responsibility to the superintendent. I'm gonna come to you, Boardman Rodriguez. Coach Cindy, was anything you would like to, any thoughts or anything you'd like to add to that? No, or you're on. Okay, we'll keep going.
Sorry
All
about
right.
that. I couldn't find my unmute button. No,
Okay.
I think it's I think you spoke to it well. I think it's just you can kind of think of your agenda as your work plan or itinerary. And 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 in the case of, if you put that in the lens of student outcomes focused governance, your agenda, the itinerary, the main thing is going to be focused on student outcomes, and then also to add in whatever else the board is legally required to do and work that it determines to take up. So, but definitely collaborative with the superintendent, because they are the how for how those student outcomes and how they are in the day-to-day work. That would be my only addition. Or reiteration is probably more
That's fine.
it.
Boardman Rodriguez, did you still have a comment or a question?
I appreciate you coming back to me, Rodney. I feel like it's kind of been answered in some of the conversation. My next question was going to be like, if we wanted to pivot and actually kind of, like you said, take more of a leadership role in co-designing. I just didn't know if you had process recommendations for us about like how we might do that, but I think part of that is already happening.
Yeah, and yes and yes. So yes, if that's the will of the team to do that, definitely would encourage you to do that. And then also, yes, there's some guidance that we'd be more than happy to provide you, or to re-review with you about how that uh, can occur in an effective way, at least from our perspective, through a student outcome focus lens. Before I move on, Dr. Mabinga, did you have any thoughts on this, as far as protocols generally, or anything specifically around the collaboration between the board and the superintendent with the board's agenda?
No, I'm in agreement with you about collaborations. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I just wanted to clarify.
Okay, go ahead.
So it's like the board members would bring it to the chair. It's not like 9 of us emailing the superintendent leading up to the agenda being, like, we're trying to kind of funnel it to our chair, collaborating more directly with the superintendent.
Yeah. So again, that is a process that you all would have to speak to. Generally speaking, yes, that if I were to go back previously, one of the norms is often that the board, the president would be the spokesperson for the board, or the president has certain duties and responsibilities that are spelled out either in policy or bylaws. But generally speaking, there would be some process by which um, board members that have something that they deem need to be part of the agenda, you all would have to be clear on what that process is. Um, and then, of course, we would continue to provide and guidance and support to then try to frame it and support you towards your goal of being student outcome focused. But no, to answer your question, you are correct. It's not 9 board members just sending their own personal whims to the superintendent, and the superintendent is, or to the board chair, and then, or to the superintendent, and then they're just supposed to try to figure it out. There's, there are ways and recommendations for that to be an effective and efficient process, but that's for you all to determine what makes sense for you.
Right.
Okay. Oh. Mhm.
So I think historically, being on this board, the agenda was always set for us. So what that means is we had no clue what we were doing as far as the agenda, because it was always set by the district clerk and the superintendent. And so when we became involved with the Council of Great City Schools, we started learning differently about what the expectations were in terms of goals being set by the board, in terms of the agenda. So we're still learning, and we appreciate, your coaching, Rodney and Cindy. As time go on, I'm sure we're going to be the most effective board members in this state.
Can I ask like a specific, like I do so much better with like like concrete. So we have, like we have policy on, and then some things I'm just learning, like I have not read every single
It's
policy. But I like consistency or making sure we're doing things. So we have some committees. So say there's a committee that's great that's starting. Would the person that's chairing that say, I guess, hey, can we make sure for the 15th, we submit the names of our appointments for this committee kind of thing? Or is it that kind of committee? I guess I just want to make sure, like for the commissary construction advisory committee, we submitted names and we voted. For the ethics committee, we submitted names and we voted. So do we do that with every single committee? Is it committees that aren't ad hoc, that are, I just want to make sure we
are consistent. I hear you. And I know that the committee that board member Talia Rodriguez, you can clarify, board member Rodriguez, that she will be having her first committee meeting, Zoom meeting, actually on the 15th. And prior to that, I believe I saw an email from board member Rodriguez reaching out to board members for names.
Yes.
And so that's consistent with what you just said. And so if people have folk who would be interested in that committee and joining on that Zoom meeting on the 15th, they need to revisit and send those names to board member Rodriguez.
So I didn't want to put her on the spot, but so this, like a real life example, we submit them to Chairwoman Rodriguez. She gets them to you. You make sure they're on the agenda.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
But not every committee is like that, right?
Yeah.
Pretty
And
consistent.
yeah,
So
and I'm
every
going to.
committee, well, every committee, so like the safety committee with board member Wright, he didn't ask for each board member to send a representative.
No, where is he?
Yeah, board member Wright.
Yeah, in that case, I remember.
I'm sorry, I'm here.
Yeah, did you hear the conversation?
So
Yeah,
for,
I
Okay.
was here. No, go ahead, VP Everhart.
so for your specific committee, he did not request that each board member sends a representative.
No,
Okay, because I thought, just from I'm only been here for a year and a half, so just from my experience, I thought that those committees were ad hoc committees, which would be like the superintendent saying, I need the board to do this committee in order to so-and-so, and then each board member will send a representative, and the superintendent will also send people from his staff. But then other committees like,
Safety.
the safety committee, I'm on the Black Caucus Committee. There isn't a person from, okay,
That's a little different.
that's different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, if I could chime in, so on the survey, one of the questions I asked was to try to get board members to list whatever they consider to be committees. And just for the sake of time, we will come back, and part of what you all are uh, displaying right now is just there doesn't seem to be clarity around processes, right? So, but you all have heard us speak before about a committee diet process, or if you haven't heard us speak to that, we will talk to you later about a committee diet process, because part of this also ties back to, what's the purpose of the committee? Is it board work? Is it really superintendent work? Why are you forming it? Is it a committee of the board? Is it a community committee? So I think there's much more for you all to consider and unpack there. And we will support you in that moving forward. I guess the main takeaway right now is that there's value in the board um, reassessing what you have on paper, reevaluating maybe what had been past patterns, and then have conversations in the context of which we'll come to in a minute. What's the purpose of the committee? What are we trying to achieve? How long does it last, and so forth. So I don't want to go down the rabbit hole if we can avoid it now on committees, but I do want you to just kind of note that that's something that not only is being discussed here, but showed up in the survey results as something that the board needs to work on clarity around when it comes to your committees. Okay. Uh, Board Member Rodriguez.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep my
Yeah.
comments brief. So since I've been on the board, I've sent a lot of emails to various parties about committees. I think a lot of these conversations seem to preface on it being our personal preference. And in fact, it's not. In my view, we're either compliant with the law or not. And we can come back to that. But Rodney, I feel like some of these questions that people are asking you are inappropriate. You're not an attorney that's admitted in New York State. And I don't want you to be put in a spot to advise us poorly. So I think it's important that if we have legal questions, we write them down and direct them to the right place. If we don't have legal questions, then we can continue to talk to Rodney about it. But I know that there's some laws that implicate, what notes are supposed to be taken. And Adriana, or excuse me, Board Member Zulich or VP Zulich, I believe that you were on those emails that I had. And everyone's really responded quickly, but I really see two areas, either compliant or non-compliant. And I don't understand the gray. So I just want to recenter this session around the questions that you can answer that are non-legal questions in my view.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that feedback. Continuing on. So again, we just kind of talked about what are some of the central responsibilities of the school board. So you do set the vision, you do set the goals, you do monitor progress. As Board Member Rodriguez and many of you have just spoke to, there are policies that the board may adopt, some that may be legally required, and then there's goals and guardrails and so forth that also can be your policy statements. But the board is setting the vision. The superintendent administration is the one that's carrying it out and implementing it.
Right. I have
Designate, yes. Mhm.
So what can be modified?
What can I don't can you ask the question another way?
Well, you said several, I guess, statements before that that we can modify, I guess, the agenda or the process or whatever the case. You were saying something about modifying. So I was just wondering, what could we modify?
So I think I was talking about well, it's all kind of things the board can modify to the extent that you still are aligned with uh, what the law has set forward. But what I was speaking earlier is there is a uh, in some of your bylaws or some of your policies there was uh, committees may be set up or um, how you set your agenda we were talking about earlier may be there. So the board has all types of opportunities to keep, delete, and modify um, uh, policies aligned with um, what the law may say. Also, we talked about earlier about your goals and guardrails that get set. You all may decide to do some modification after you have either gone out again and listened to the community or after feedback that you have received from Dr. Mabinga. So there's much that could be modified, not to mention just how the board spends its time and executes its practices and agreements also can be modified. So things aren't necessarily written in stone. We talk about patterns and oftentimes you have past patterns, but in the current world, in the current environment, or in the current team, there may not be clear understanding as to why that pattern exists. And after you become aware to these patterns, then there's an opportunity for the board to make adjustments to be more focused on student outcomes, especially if you have patterns that have you more and more into the day-to-day weeds or potentially doing superintendent work versus the board being focused on board work. Hope
Thank you.
that was responsive. So again, we talked about the essential responsibilities of the board, uh, designating, hiring the chief executive officer, the superintendent. The board approves and adopts the budget aligned with the goals and the strategic plan. You all have had some recent conversations about that, but we will continue to support you on that drill down. Um, then there's this conversation about a relationship of trust. So all this slide is trying to present and articulate is that on the left-hand side of the column, the board is focused on the why, the what, the how much. The board is focused on the ends, and you all articulate that through your goals and guardrails. You are able to monitor. Um, we talk about goal monitoring and being able to monitor progress. And then, of course, at your business meeting, the board will take action or vote on various items that may be brought before you. It's the superintendent that you hire who is responsible for the means, the methods, the how, the when, the where, and the who. And then the superintendent is going to, as the board paints its vision, the superintendent will come back with strategies and objectives. As the board sets policies, it's the superintendent, at least from the running of the district, that will set regulations and procedures. Um, it's the superintendent, and by superintendent, I mean the administration and his team, who will come back and take what the board has established and implement the how to go get it done. And then ultimately, when the board is prepared to vote on various items that comes before the board, then the expectation is that the superintendent is going to set the board up for success by making recommendations for the board to consider to help support the board's discussion and debate and eventually action around the votes that the board eventually takes. And it falls into this realm of a relationship of trust because as you move forward, um, uh, the more that the board is clear about what's board work and can build its expertise around board work And likewise, the superintendent is clear around superintendent work. The trust builds from the doing and the understanding and the collaboration and the conversation. And also, um, when there may be some confusion around whether or not uh, who's doing whose job, the lack of clarity can bring about distrust, but role clarity can bring about trust and also bring about effective results for students. Um, and really, all of this falls within the realm of governance structure. I won't belabor this slide, but I do want to just kind of focus again. When we say governance team, we're talking about the board and the superintendent together, and that um, as you hear us coach and talk about um, the board being the genesis for transformation, the board truly can set the culture and climate for the entire district. And if you go back to some of the beliefs that the board may have, the board believing that what the board does um, can impact the climate and readiness of the entire organization is an important belief for the board to consider, or for you all to consider as part of your belief system. Um, just some essential questions that you may consider. How do you structure the governance team? What's the effectiveness of governance? How does governance leadership team differentiate the role of the board as a policy-making body versus superintendent? How does the governance leadership team ensure a balanced governance approach and not get involved in micromanagement? All these things are built within your SOFG framework, but these things take time. They take practice. Going back to the video that we started with, or even as board member Bowen was speaking earlier, there's a whole lot of practice. There's a whole lot of muscle memory. There's a whole lot of energy to get there, and it may happen overnight, but typically it does not happen overnight. And so that's why this cadence of professional development and coaching is important, and why we are here to support you in that effort. So. Just for the sake of time, VP Everhart, can you remind me what's the end time for today?
6 o'clock.
All right, so it's a 5:45 now, and what I wanted to do and was trying to work out the hybrid piece, because I was going to see if those of you that are online, see if I could put you in a breakout room, and those of you that were together could be another group. But there's just a couple of scenarios. What I like to do is just kind of walk through and then kind of wrap up with where do we go next. So as you think about what may be some protocols that you may establish, consider this scenario. Board member Gail has some concerns about Principal Skinner. Gail frequently goes to the school and wanders the hallway. When she sees a teacher alone in the classroom, Gail has a closed door visit with the teacher to check out her concerns with the principal. Um, what are your thoughts about this scenario, and what type of protocol do you think that the board should consider based upon your thoughts on this scenario? Uh, Anyone have any thoughts on board member Gail in this scenario? Anybody see a problem in this scenario?
Yeah, I think we just had an issue like this in our nearby school district. I think that was Syracuse, where a board member was removed for going to the schools.
Well, not only going to the school, I remember that case. They were going to the school and talking with the teacher about
About bullying.
the kid, her Child was being
Her
bullied.
grandchild was being bullied and she went to the school to talk to the teacher. But she went with her teacher, her grandparent hat on.
She claimed.
She claimed.
Yeah.
But they decided that no, she was using the power of the board seat to do that.
Well,
Yeah.
look like Gail in hot water. She shouldn't be talking to a teacher. She should go straight to the principal. Right? I mean, she'll be
Well,
going to the
so
teacher.
Not.
Yeah.
yeah. So the key thing here is this is board member Gail. And so one of the things that I'll just uplift as because I know many of you are wearing multiple hats. You're not only a board member, but you're also a parent. But uh, generally speaking, once a board member, always a board member. And so part of what this scenario is uplifting is that board member Gail, not parent Gail, board member Gail has some concerns about the principal. And then board member Gail goes to the school and wanders the hallway, which we know that generally speaking, parent Gail would not be allowed to do that. And so part of what this is intended to uplift is when you all have discussions around um, you know, uh, code of conduct or protocols around how does school visits, for example. What's the purpose of a school visit, or what type of lines or protocols need to be in place if a board member has a concern. And so I think you already correctly identified how board member Gale acting in this fashion could put board member Gale at risk, can result in uh, the principal feeling a certain way about it, can eventually lead to a lot of concerns, and then um, then it ends with board has a closed door visit with the teacher to check out her concerns with the principal. So board member Gail, if you go back to um, the previous slide, we're talking about the responsibility of the board member versus the responsibility of the superintendent. These scenarios aren't made up in the sense that they don't happen. They happen all the time. But part of what you all have to have some conversations around is um, how do you want to handle visits? If you are a board member and you are a parent and you have concerns, what is the appropriate process? And generally speaking, the answer is going to be that you have a process and you share your concern with the administration through whatever means that are developed. But the key point here is for board members to be mindful that uh, because you in your role have access that the general public may not access, doesn't give the board member the right to do as board member Gale, and can create all kinds of legal concerns, not only for board member Gale, but for the district and the board as a whole.
I just want to say, Rodney, after board member Rodriguez was talking about the committee structures, we do have committees of the board policy 2210. And under here, it says visitation committees. Now, this is something we haven't adopted in my time here. And so it just says the board will appoint one or more committees to visit every school or department at least once annually and report on their conditions at the next regular meeting of the board. That's something I've never even seen. Yeah, so we do have policy around how to structure committees.
Yes, and that goes back to board member Hawkins' point, and what we also have raised and would support and coach you is really going through this policy diet process so that the board is very much familiar with what's in the book and what may be legally required, what may not be legally required, and then what is actually good governance and good practice for the board in terms of being student outcome focused. So that is definitely something that we will be bringing forward to you again as part of that diet and review, because the point is that there are thousands and thousands of probably policies that are in your policy
Yes.
manual. Um, but what we would coach and support is the board having a manual that is much more streamlined, that focused on what's really um, a goal, a guardrail, legally required, and so forth. And then many of those other policies that the board would consider delegating to the superintendent and the administration, who really, where where it belongs, and can address those things on a day-to-day basis. Yes, Board Member Rodriguez.
So I was just gonna respond to the hypothetical. I agree. I think that it is a very difficult role, but I think that the hypothetical shows the complexity of this role. There's a lot of things that could be assumed about the hypothetical, but one thing that isn't mentioned is as to whether that board member in question had a prior relationship with the teacher. And then one of the things that I think is also needing to be addressed that's kind of ties to some of the confusion is, to VP Everhart's point, we may have a policy that's in a book, but I've always pushed so that there's transparency on the public's end, because a lot of times, and I think we all know this, they don't have time to review it. So I've talked about things like descriptions for committees, descriptions for committee volunteers, formalizing those. I requested a one-pager for committees, and that was early in my time as I was learning. But I think the other conversation that we always have to have is, what do we know versus what is publicly available, and how that lack of public availability underscores people's confusion about our role.
Thank you very much for sharing it. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. Mhm.
Oh, no, I just wanted to echo that. It's so true. I didn't even know what board docs was before I was running for the board. I never even heard of it. And we did a training in CPAC one time, the Special Education Committee, but like, this is board docs. This is where you can find it. You can look at the agenda, for a board meeting, and there's so much information there. But yeah, if you don't even know it's there, you don't know how to access it.
Yeah, and as
Yes.
far as
So
board members for committees and things like that, that doesn't exist. But I think that's a great idea, now that we do have a board clerk, that if you want to work with the board clerk to create things like that, committees and what they're about, who should be on them, I think that would be a great idea, but that's never existed.
Thank you, and BP Everhart, and that was the message that was shared with me. So I'm excited because I think there's just a time in local government where people are looking for different levels of interaction, and I appreciate your affirmation in that effort.
And I would just, as we approach 6 o'clock, just kind of recenter where we started. So this is a governance team. You all are working together. You want to be collaborative in that way, and then and make sure that you are considering it as a team, and take the opportunity to just kind of revisit now. That new cup of coffee that you're pouring. There may be things on the book that may have been created for whatever reason at a given point in time, but going through a process where you can really streamline and give some attention to the why and what's trying to be achieved, and also in the context, is it really board work or something that needs to be delegated to the superintendent, is very important for your consideration moving forward. Um, in the few minutes that I have left, I just want to real quickly. I won't pause for comment at this time. I just wanted to share real quickly some of the feedback that you all provided from the survey. So I just want to give you a sense of uh, some of the basis for. I think this is important, and we would recommend that you consider some of this conversation. So as I mentioned, 6 people responded uh, to the questions. How the school board business meeting agenda um, is developed. Then uh, some said, uh, uh, or do you know how the school board business meeting agenda is developed? Some were yes, some were no, some were not sure, but the majority were either did not know or were not sure. You can see those responses there. Um, I know and understand the current process for obtaining information about the board agenda items prior to the meeting. Again, mixed responses, and I will send this information to you. Do you know how board work session agendas are developed? Majority, no or not sure. Some said that they knew, but this is not a blame thing. This is just showing you the current reality and why it's important for you all to have these discussions so that you can be on the same page and be clear towards your effectiveness of how you do your business. Asked a question about receiving communication. I just from observing um, in our own work, I noticed that some of you all respond to emails, some prefer a phone call, some all of the above, and so forth. But just having a sense of how your colleagues would like to be communicated with, I think is important as you all consider your collaboration moving forward. This was interesting. The board receives the board package how many days prior to the meeting? So looks like the majority said 7 to 10 days. At least one um, wasn't thought it was a shorter period of time. But again, these are things that the board can work on to ensure that everybody's on the same page. Um, the board receives the board packet how many days prior to the meeting for work sessions. Again, different thoughts and different responses. So we have some coaching and some recommendations that we would have for that. But again, I just want to kind of give you a sense of what the responses were.
I
And
just
then
want
this
to.
was it.
Go
Mhm.
ahead, Rob. I'm sorry, you're
No,
not.
go
I
ahead.
thought you I'll go
Go
after you
ahead.
finish.
Well, and the last thing I just wanted to say is all of this is really to, as we started off talking about um, how the board does its work, how the board does its work in the public, not for the public, but in the public, the tone and the culture that the board sets can be paralleled all the way throughout the district. And so at one time, this particular response was unanimous, and then it came back that it wasn't quite unanimous, but the board respects and values the opinion of each member and provides a clear process for each member to be heard. So this just indicates that there's opportunity for growth. But as I watched you all in the earlier portion of the meeting, and as I've participated with you all in this session right now, and as you showed back in May, there's no question that the board can and does value each member. Sometimes it's just a matter of in the heat of the moment, just like that young lady that had the baton, she had to focus. And so, to the extent that the board can remain focused on how you interact with one another, how you interact with the superintendent, you can carry that baton for students and cross that finish line as a victor. But there's always going to be these pressures that will come. Sometimes the pressures may come at the microphone. Sometimes the pressure may come in the grocery store. They may come, who knows where those pressures may come from. But I'm just going to say that, I showed that video and had that discussion because I think and I know because you all demonstrated often that when you are focused and when you are mindful of why you're there, what you're focused on, and how you can ensure that each member is clear about the processes and that each member is respected and valued, we know that's something that you can do because it's something that you've already demonstrated that you can do. So that's going to be my end piece of that. I will share these slides and information with you at a subsequent meeting. Um, I'll send you all a little template that you can consider using to actually write down um, some of the norms and protocols that you all want to consider moving forward. But Coach Cindy, anything from the coach's perspective you want to add before we turn things back over?
No, I think you covered it all. Good to see
Okay.
everyone though.
Okay. All right. So VP Everhart, we turn the meeting back over to you.
Okay, I just wanted to say, you said something about don't feel like you were blaming us, and we do not feel blame. There was such a huge turnover to where we didn't even know these things as far as, so on your survey, you'll see some board members say yes. Those probably are just leadership who just found out from you that the agenda is actually, ours to do. So we just finding these things out. It was a huge turnover from Dr. K, who had been in the district clerk for so many years. So everything was just, it was a train, it was just going. And so me and Adriana, we have the privilege or to see both sides to where we came on last year. We had a full year with Dr. K. And then this year was just like, he's gone, right? And so just saying that it was a huge turnover and we're really grateful that you guys are coming in kind of like showing us where our power lies as a board and how we can kind of collaborate on that.
Well, thank you. We have nothing else. I don't know if there's anything else that you want to consider. We do have the expectation that we'll be back with you soon, next week, I believe it is.
Next week. Yeah, next week.
To continue this work, and just want to remind, as many of you do already, know that you can reach out to Cindy, Coach Cindy, you can reach out to me any point in time, any questions, any support that you may have in your continued service on behalf of the students of Buffalo.
Thank you, Rodney. Thank you, Sydney. Dr. Mubanga, do you have
Thanks,
anything?
everyone.
No, ma'am. Well done, coach.
Well, thank you again for your time.
Holidays, you
Bye,
too.
everyone.
Thank you.
4th of July. 4th of July. Yeah, we have a long weekend. Oh, okay.